Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing more of the Double Down seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which every card in our deck gets duplicated, and whenever we play a unit, we play a random unit with the same provision cost from our deck. That allows us to load the board with a bunch of powerful units, setting up this combo that can destroy every unit that our opponent plays. So let's go take a look at the deck. So today we'll be playing a Syndicate Blood Money Bounty Spam deck, which is incredibly effective in this event because usually you can only set one bounty per turn, and that is one of the limiting factors that curbs the amount of power that bounty has. However, in this event, because we can get twice as many units on the board as usual, including 2 copies of some of the strongest cards in the game, we can get multiple bounties per turn, which can set up absolutely ridiculous combos that automatically destroy our opponent's units as soon as they play them. So how do we make that happen? One of the things that we do is load up on as many copies of Vigilantes as possible, because this deals 2 damage every time we put a bounty on a unit, which with one Vigilante is helpful, but with multiple Vigilantes can immediately destroy a unit as soon as we put a bounty on it. And that's not that difficult to do if we get a bunch of Vigilantes, so we have other ways to get more Vigilantes out there with stuff like Igor the Hook. Does take a little bit of coins to get a bunch of them on the board, but just a few extra ones and you should be able to start eating through some of your opponent's units. But we can also make it happen with the Operator, and if absolutely necessary, you could even use a Megascope as well, although this isn't a unit, it's an artifact, so it does not benefit from getting the extra card out from your deck when you play it with Double Down. So that is the way that we get a bunch of bounty support. In terms of bounty setting, we have a few key bounty setters, Caleb being one of them because he can set a new bounty every turn, and with 2 Calebs, that's 2 new bounties every turn, which if you have a bunch of Vigilantes to support Caleb, that means in all likelihood destroying 2 of your opponent's units every single turn and getting coins back in the process to sustain that combo, which is just amazing. Similarly, the Witchfinder also can set a bounty every turn, and this is our only 12 provision cost card, so you play one of them, you're going to get the other one out as well. Once again, usually you'd only get 1 new bounty per turn, but in this case, with 2 Witchfinders, you can get 2 new bounties per turn, which with a bunch of Vigilantes can eat through all of your opponent's units. So that is the other key bounty setter. Generally, I like to save Caleb for round 1 and the Witchfinder for round 2/3, although if you can get by winning a round without using one of them and load up on multiple of them in the same round, then that is just ridiculous how much you can do in that case. Then we do, of course, have the more traditional damage sources against the units that have bounty with stuff like Freak Show in particular. This is our other 8 provision cost card, so when you play Caleb, you're either going to get another Caleb or you're going to get a Freak Show, and they work really well together, so that's really convenient. The other usual unit that you use to damage stuff that has bounties, that being the Witch Hunter Executioner, so this also is very effective in that way, but the other 5 provision cost card we have that may come out when you use an Executioner is the Sly Seductress, which, although doesn't deal damage, this is still one of the strongest cards in this event, because since your opponent is playing at least 2 cards, if not more, every turn, the Sly Seductress can get a whole bunch of boosts very quickly, and if you load up your board with a ton of these, then that is very difficult for your opponents to outdo you. And in fact, if for whatever reason the bounty isn't really working, then you could instead use Sly Seductress as the target for creating additional copies with Igor rather than the Vigilantes, and that is an alternate win condition that your opponent may not see coming if they're expecting a whole bunch more bounty stuff. Outside of that, it's mostly just some odds and ends for a little bit more coin generation and one-off sources of bounty. We do have Moreelse, which is particularly useful if your opponent gets a really highly boosted card that you're just never going to be able to spend enough coins to destroy with something like Freak Show, or your Vigilantes, you may have a lot of them, but there's still not enough to destroy that card when you put a bounty on it. So Moreelse basically just break through whatever it is that is too big for you to destroy, and that is one of the big ways to counter what would be one of the biggest issues for this deck. Then we also have Ignatius Hale, which because we are going to set so many bounties and destroy so many units that have bounties, he's going to be a huge point slam. And we also have the Brute, which is our only 13 provision cost card, which means when you play this, you're guaranteed to get the other one, and this is a good way to almost certainly max out your profit, assuming that you have at least destroyed some units with a bounty thus far, and get a decent point slam out of him as well. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Set a bunch of bounties and either spend coins to destroy those cards that you put the bounties on, or get so many Vigilantes on the board that you automatically destroy those cards when you put the bounty on them. Then, if necessary, you can deviate a little bit from that plan and spam some Sly Seductresses because they get so many boosts that it would be very hard for your opponent to catch you with those. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Skellige here, and we'll go first. Alright, and we do want to have a consistent bounty setter in each round, and Witchfinder is one of those. However, she's our only 12 provision cost unit, so we are already guaranteed to see the other one. Then, probably dump Megascope here. Seductress is a decent point scoring engine, yes, but we have a lot of them. I usually like to save Witchfinder for round 3 if possible. That may not be a luxury we can afford to have here, because it mean we really need Caleb. Okay. In round 1 as our most viable alternative, now that we do have a Caleb. That does make things a lot more interesting. Alright, so there's a case to be made for Vigilantes here to proactively set up some bounty support. before we start playing things like Caleb or Witchfinder, because there isn't anything for us to put a bounty on just yet. Or we go with Seductress as a more point-scoring engine. Let's go Vigilantes. Let's go Vigilantes. Now, you're not going to be a huge difference maker in all likelihood, because we should have a way to spend coins to deal damage to the units that have bounties. Okay, let's see how that damage gets split. Not enough to be immediately concerning. So they are right to prioritize Vigilantes. So Caleb is one of our 8 provision cost cards. Freak Show is the other. So we'd kind of like to get Freak Show out here. Generally speaking, getting one of each is the best way to go about this. So it gives you a nice balance of bounty setting and damage to the card that you put the bounty on. And as long as Vigilantes is alive, we can do this very efficiently here. So, in fact, we do this. Get 2 free damage from Vigilantes. Do that. And then, most efficient way to do this is actually Bare-Knuckle Brawler on this occasion. Can't put the bounty on this turn, because Caleb has a cooldown. Let's just dump you. Debatable as whether it may have technically been best to just save those coins, but we do still have our stratagem there. Okay, this could be a very annoying warrior. Does get rid of Vigilantes, and now this can get rid of Freak Show. Caleb was more valuable to us, though. Because we should... I mean, technically, we can use Bare-Knuckle Brawler to destroy one of these guys. And we would have enough coins to... not quite, because it would cost us coins to put the bounty on with Caleb. What I'd like to do in that case is use Seductress and hope that we get a Executioner out from our deck in the process, which is likely. That's our other 5 provision cost card, and obviously we have a bunch of Seductresses in our hand right now. So it's more likely than not that this is going to be an Executioner. Gives us a little more coins, and it gives us a way to target our bounty, specifically, with the damage, rather than randomly splitting it with the Bare-Knuckle Brawler, or, you know, splitting it across a few different units. Again, we could go after you with the Brawler to finish you off, although maybe on this occasion, we'll try to save a few coins. Now, do they go after Caleb? Because he's the card that matters. Now, fortunately, the Callus is not terribly effective against, or with, that is your damage recipient. It is much more effective with Sigvald, though. That is a concern. In fact, Sigvald is one of, if not the single best counter to our deck, so that's a big issue. And that's where having stuff like multiple Sly Seductresses is potentially the best answer to just out-boost ourselves. Otherwise, you have to use Moreelse, more or less, to get rid of Sigvald, because otherwise we just can't destroy him. So, we do that. We could go Tax Collector, get some coins, and maybe we get a Scapegoat there, and then we can target that with the Witch Hunter Executioner, but that's not really a huge deal. It's not going to help us that much, especially when we already have a decent amount of coins, so I think we do go this route. That's one occasion where we might have actually wanted to get the other Seductress out from our deck. So we could use you to apply a little more bleed. Go to the Brockvar Warrior. Don't really want to help you get that to Berserk 5. And obviously putting bleed on Sigvald is definitely not a good idea. Okay, but they use Sigvald to set up the Callus. This is going to get out one of our brutes. Gets out their Melusine. Yes, that is a brick for us. And it now makes this brute significantly less valuable because we won't get anything else out from our deck when we use that. So, Callus can still do its thing. Sigvald will still get bleed rather than pure damage. They could still target Sigvald or Melusine with the Callus. So the Callus is really the thing that we want to target now. So, we also hate Melusine because of the Veil. Despite the fact that, oh, right, this was summoned. So she didn't get Veil. But you do have Veil. So, they're still holding on to a lead here. I'm going to go another Seductress. I kind of, again, actually want the other Seductress out from our deck. We are going to apply a bunch of bleed. At this point to everyone except Sigvald. And this is probably going to be our last turn. It's definitely going to be our last turn, because we'd rather not have Siri Dash activate. And Dogger, I think I know what this is all about. I think I know what Dogger is here for. Obviously, getting boosted from their damage, and they have a decent amount of that. But I think this might actually be a Sigvald deck. I'm not sure how this is going to add up. With the damage they take from bleed, the damage we take from rain, the boost the dog... Yeah, they're still going to be in the lead here. Alright, I mean, losing on even at 5 cards is significantly better than losing on even at 4 cards. So I think we still take this. think we still have to accept this as is. Because, yeah, this counters our entire deck, which caused us some problems. But the fact that they at least had to commit one Sigvald in round 1, that's something. Dogger was also a pretty big commitment. They actually, oh yeah, they do need to play here, because otherwise the bleed would take effect and we would tie. So at least we are forcing them actually to play one more card. That was the intention of applying multiple turns worth of bleed with the Executioner on our previous turn. Now they're setting themselves up with Fisher King. Who knows what that's trying to give them? Alright, so they did play one more card than us, and therefore they may look to dry pass here, but I'm not really sure we can rely on that. And they did brick one of our Brutes, and Brute hasn't even been set up all that much, so we might just mulligan this. Although it is potentially one of our strongest cards, on this occasion it's a single Brute and nothing else, so Ignatius Hale, we do have the other one in hand, but he gives us access to other 9 provision cost cards from our deck, and we do have several of them, including our second Moreelse, as well as Igor is the other one, which can help us create additional Vigilantes, which, when combined with Witchfinder, is really effective. Octavia can also help us fine-tune our hand further. Okay, Freak Show is definitely good. So if we have a throwaway, and we do, because they do dry pass here, then I think we're probably looking at Tax Collector to get a little bit of coins to start off, or, you know, what we can from this. Probably would have preferred to have seen that be a Scapegoat, so we still would have had more points than them, and it would have gotten us maxed out on coins going into round 3, but we'll settle for just having 1 coin carried over into round 3. Alright, so we draw into a Vigilantes, an Igor, so we have lots of 9 provision cost cards here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, which might be too many. So we have 1, 2, and only 2 left in our deck, so we should mulligan one of you. Let's mulligan an Ignatius. We probably don't want the Brute. Necromancy can help us get more Vigilantes, which I think is probably what we're going to lead off with here. We're going to go Vigilantes, then we're going to try to create additional copies of them with Igor, then we're going to break out Witchfinder, and hopefully have enough Vigilantes that Witchfinder can immediately destroy whatever it is that she puts that bounty on. But the big issue here is actually going to be, we don't have any Purification, so they put a Defender, then that's going to be tricky. So, okay, let's Vigilantes. And, okay, we Tax Collector, you know, we could use a little bit more coins to help us create additional copies of the Vigilantes more quickly once we do break out Igor. They're going to go after Vigilantes, though. That is the right move, but we do have another one in our hand, and we also have the Necromancy to get more as well, so they're right to target it, but we are prepared to still get more on the board here. Here's the Scapegoat that I've said a bazillion times would have been a nice card to have gotten previously. We do have the Vigilantes already, so we immediately destroy it. That powers up Ignatius a little bit and gets our leader ability a little bit stronger as well. Technically means we're over-profiting a little bit here, but so be it. And now, as long as you survive, which you will with 1 power, we can now use Igor to create additional copies of you, which I think is what we'll go for here, because we have the coins to immediately start doing that. That's a really bad Moreelse, though. That is a really bad Moreelse. Fortunately, they have already used 1 Sigvald, but we know they have another one in their deck. So this is our pretty much only counter for Sigvald if they either get the original one back with Fukusia or they play the other one out directly. So fortunately, we still have the other one in our hand, but that's going to hurt. That is going to hurt. Don't need the tribute here. Definitely don't need the tribute. Let's, I don't know, I guess go after you. But more importantly, let's do that. Okay, Brockvar Hunter. For more damage. Now they're going to keep on trying to deal with the Vigilantes and doing a decent job of that. I think on this turn, they have a bunch of weak cards here. So if we get Witchfinder out here, that'll give us enough coins to create another Vigilantes with Igor, and that will be enough for us to destroy the stuff that Witchfinder puts the bounties on. So I think this is the turn to make that happen. So let's do this. Spend these coins in particular. This row is going to get pretty crowded. Create the extra copy of you, and I think we may want to even use these as well. It's gonna take up some board space because you can't click on these if you're on full coins. And once this combo starts kicking off, we are going to be on full coins for a while. There's the Sigvald that we are fearful of. Is it a defender? No. Okay. In fact, I have no way of being a defender there. We need to immediately target Sigvald. We need to immediately target Sigvald with Moreelse. You require 6 coins here. Might need some creative leader ability uses here as well, but... So it's going to be Moreelse. Let's go this row now. So again, range row is going to be pretty crowded. So we need to pay this tribute, otherwise we can't really destroy Sigvald. I do like the other Igor, though. So now we can put the Vigilantes in either row. So we don't have enough coins for Igor unless we use a leader ability charge by over-damaging you. That would mean we gain 4 coins, which gets us... Yeah, that gets us enough, at least for 1 Igor. Or we could hit somebody smaller. Yeah. Let's hit somebody smaller. Max out our coins. Then we can do this. And we can also do this. So now we have lots of Vigilantes. Enough so to destroy any unit that they play. Pretty much is the goal here. And we can use Necromancy now to get more Vigilantes out from our graveyard. Can use Freak Show if we want to. And honestly, I forget if we have the other Freak Show, if we have a Caleb still in our deck, because now, with all these Vigilantes, bounties are actually our best source of damage. They're going to do everything they can to shut down the Vigilantes, but... Okay, let's see. Freak Show, what is the other 8 provision cost card? It is a Caleb. It is Caleb. So I think we actually do that. That should give us enough coins to create more Vigilantes, which is definitely something we want to do. In fact, we should do this first, because otherwise we are going to over-profit a little bit when we do this. These guys are row-locked in the melee row. Okay, so now we do this, and we're going to have 6 damage from this. So that means Witchfinder would not have enough damage to destroy the Callus unless we poke you first. So we should do that. Because now everything is once again automatically getting destroyed, and we're sustaining our coinage here. And again, Necromancy for additional Vigilantes on our next turn. We'd like to do that, but they realize at this point we've set up our bounty setting engines, and there is no way that they can stop us with all these Vigilantes to support them. So we'll take the win. Alright, it's going up against Northern Realms here. And they'll go first. Alright, so we want to have a bounty setter in each round, and we don't really have one unless we use Oneiromancy to get either Witchfinder or Caleb slash, well, we have 2 Calebs. So we also have a ton of Vigilantes, which is something we'd like to use a lot of in round 3. I mean, it's not that's a bad thing in round 1, but we'd like to combine it with Igor in round 3 to create a whole bunch and fill the entire board. So let's get rid of some of them. Brute is our only 13 provision cost card, so having the second one appear in our hand is a net 0 point addition. Alright, Letitia. So, patience. Hate the Veil, though. I do hate the Veil, though. So, it's pretty important that we take Letitia out as quickly as possible. So I think what we do in that case is we go Oneiro into the other Oneiro. And then we want both Caleb and also Freak Show. They are 8 provision cost cards. Now the problem is, we get one of them out here, we might get 2 Calebs. If we pick Caleb, we might get 2 Freak Shows if we pick Freak Show. So if we are only guaranteed to get one of them, I think we prefer Freak Show. Would like to get one of each, but we don't know definitively. Okay, it is one of each. So, let's do that. And that. And then this. Technically, I'm going to save a little bit of that coinage so that we can put... technically, we won't be able to put a bounty on you on this turn anyway, but we needed a little more coins. We weren't quite going to have enough damage to take you out immediately. Okay, that's not ideal. Do like to see an early alumni, though, because that's a bit of a brick for them. Okay, that's the card we would prefer for them to lock. Assuming we have an Executioner in hand, do we or do we not? Usually, we do have another way to deal damage. Although, with so many Vigilantes in hand that we might be relying on a Bare-Knuckle Brawler. Yeah. That is a rarity. That is a serious rarity. Wow, I'm very surprised. But yeah, it's going to have to be Bare-Knuckle Brawler now, which is very inefficient at actually actually removing stuff. But Vigilantes plus Caleb actually is not out of the question here. So the problem is we can't do that on Letitia. The Veiled Letitia is an issue. And so I was really hoping we would rely on Freak Show to make that happen. But we could, let's see. Now we need, we need the coins to be able to place the bounty with Caleb, and then we can destroy Margarita. Again, this is a problem, though. Shawnee? Oh, for patience units, bronze patience units that have already increased their patience number significantly. So this Letitia is potentially a big enough problem that we want to pass very, very soon. Because Vigilantes, yes, we can use to increase the damage on Caleb whenever we place a bounty, although we don't have enough coins to do that right now anyway. And again, the Veil on Letitia makes her pretty much unstoppable at the moment, which is why we just needed a little more coins and Freak Show, and we could have just about taken out both the Letitias in one turn, but not quite, and that is coming back to bite us. So what if we Octavia Hale, get you for more bounty, put you back. No, range rope. And Purify is the solution we're looking for. I mean, also technically Purifying Freak Show would have been helpful too. Okay, there are the patience units that we were expecting to see. But we're very close to having enough firepower to destroy Letitia on this turn. On our next turn, at least. It's lack of coins that's actually going to be the thing that does us in here. How many cards did they just play on that turn? How many cards did they just play on that turn? They should boost Letitia. Okay, now it's no longer possible, and it was the right timing, but I do hate you for pulling that off. Okay. I guess the other thing we technically could have done, but we still wouldn't have the coins to do this, would have been Igor's a 9 provision cost card. Moreelse is also 9 provision cost card. So there's a chance, although it's far from guaranteed because we have several 9 provision cost cards, that playing Igor could have given us a random Moreelse out from our deck, and we could have used that to at least damage, if not destroy Letitia if we had the coins to do that, but we don't. So we need this round to end immediately. I mean, immediately. So close, yet so far, taking out that Letitia. Alright, and having one Witch Hunter Executioner would have been a huge difference maker as well. Very unusual that we didn't have any of those in our hand or other 5 provision cost card to get one from our deck. So that's good to at least see this here. Let's dump a Tax Collector. Scapegoat, I mean, yes, we could sort of use more profit generation, I suppose. Let's dump this Octavia. And we get Kurt, which, if they have more Veil, is a good way to deal with that. Because as you saw, Veil can be a pretty big challenge when they put that on an important unit, especially if they boost that unit as well. Okay, this is... I mean, they were 1 card down. So it's going to say it's disrespectful, and it is. But it's maybe not egregiously so. Am I mad at them for doing it? Yeah. But this Rafford's Vengeance, they used to get a Pillar of all things, is odd. It's on a 5-turn cooldown now, so usually this would be the card we'd very much go after. The fact that it's boosted is not great for bounty, because that makes that less efficient. The Pillar is technically the most efficient thing for us to target here at the moment. So, I mean, the fact that they played this, though, very much implies they wouldn't play this if they were just using it as a tempo option. This is a huge engine they're going long-term for. So we need to be prepared to go for a long round here, which means we should probably do what we did in the previous round, that being break you guys out. And then we're still going for you. And we need, once again, just a little more coins. or damage from Vigilantes. We do obviously have Scapegoat, which can absolutely give us more coins. Even the Executioner would give us enough to finish off Peller, but the Peller is mostly just a means to an end. Okay, who do they lock? Want you to lock Freak Show. The fact that Freak Show is the one that got damaged probably makes you less likely to lock Freak Show. But you will lock Freak Show. Good. Usually, we're very capable of bouncing back from Freak Show getting locked because we usually have tons of Executioners. So that was a bit of an oddity that that was not the case in round 1. Alright. So, that probably does mean it's going to be Executioner here. And then, okay. Debatable as whether we would have preferred a Seductress or another Executioner. Probably Executioner for the additional profit. But now, we have enough damage to do this. Enough coins, really, to do that. And then that means we would have enough coins to place one more bounty, but not enough coins to destroy the card that we put that bounty on. So next highest priority, I mean, is Rafford's Vengeance, although we technically kind of sort of still have a little bit of time to deal with that. So next turn, basically, we're going to use Scapegoat to give ourselves a bunch of coins, in all likelihood, although we would kind of like to play Vigilantes to make these bounty sets a little more efficient. I guess we will still go for you. I do kind of want to get rid of Istrid, though. Also, that was not a great idea if we're going to rely on Scapegoat to be the source of coins, because that means we're just going to remove or replace that bounty with something else. So yeah, in hindsight, we could use Fabian Hale, which actually is fine in this case. We actually would have preferred to put the bounty on Istrid. In that situation, it's a 1 coin difference, but so be it. Right, Amphibious Assault is going to be to get more Patience Engines, I imagine. They did not really get that many out in round 1, which is a good thing. Because if they had, then that one, let's just show that they managed to keep, would have been a much bigger deal. And this is still dealing damage when they place up next to it, so that's another reason to go after it. So, let's see, you're 7. So yeah, it's Fabian here. Or, yes, Fabian here. And keep the bounty on you, but that gives us more coins. And similarly, here. So now we go crazy, removing you again. This is technically not super efficient because you were boosted. So the refund we get is not amazing. But now, it's an interesting case to be made for Istrid versus the Aretuza students. I think I'll actually go for the Aretuza student, this weaker one, because we have enough damage to destroy that now. And we know they have alumni. It's the primary reason why I'm choosing to go in that direction this time round. Now we could go Scapegoat, and that'd be relatively efficient on our next turn because we do not have a bounty on anyone. And leader ability is back up to 4. Okay, it's Shawnee, which is mostly to get these back. And you know it's going to be a Baynard student because they went Melee Row Shawnee. Really? Oh, right, this is already up to 5. Okay, so again, we do have a lot. We do have a lot of ways to deal extra damage to units that have bounty. In fact, we could use a Necromancy, which is basically our equivalent of Shawnee, to get you back, which is not out of the question. Usually I save that for Vigilantes, which do we have? We do have Igor. So we could just completely ignore dealing damage with the Executioners and just rely on loading up on a bunch of Vigilantes to have that be the source of damage and just move the bounty with Caleb. I think I will go Necromancy, though. I think I will do this. It's simple, straightforward, and now debatable who we ought to go for here. Technically don't quite have enough damage on you, unless we break out a leader ability, but maybe we will. It's gonna be a little bit awkward, because, yeah, it pretty much has to be leader ability. Because, again, now it's ending the turn with a unit that still has a bounty on it is not great, because Scapegoat does move the bounty. So we pretty much need for this to be a leader ability target. Okay, it's another Amphibious Assault, which probably means another highly boosted. It might actually be an alumni in this case. No. Okay, we know they want to do that at some point. So trying to deny them the Aretuza student's value so they don't get to that threshold. Okay, we can replace the bounty either with Caleb or with Kurt, although I'm trying to save him in case we need the purification to remove a veil, although I think that's probably just something that came from their stratagem and not much else. And by weakening but not destroying his turn, we did kind of invite them to use that order ability on that turn, although it's not the end of the world. It means he's no longer getting value, so that's maybe not a terrible thing. So now we'd like to target you, which at 9 power is unfortunate, because that's, especially since you're highly boosted, not an easy card to go after. We could start with a Scapegoat. That's not out of the question. You're at 4 power on the leader ability. I think we're going to have to use it here. So I think we use a little bit of coins initially just because we're about to reach maximum coinage. Are we? Technically not. Not anymore, at least. Do that. That would have been great in the other order. Do that. Do this. Do this. And now you're technically not quite going to be destroyed because I need a little more time to use the Executioner to take you out. Which really stinks because that was going to be the turn in which you got to the alumni threshold is 4, right? It is. Yeah, that really stinks. Like, that is possibly a game-winning, game-losing difference. So now every alumni is going to have Zeal going forward. Which is the difference between them being able to immediately use it and us being able to destroy the alumni every turn before they get the chance to activate the order abilities. So yeah, I'm not happy about that. But now we can go Vigilantes. Or, let's go I want to have a Vigilantes on the board when we play Igor to build around that. But the fact that we may not have access to Vigilantes after this round means perhaps this is the round for Igor after all. Okay, this is a big point slam, but I guess we'll take it. So now we can destroy you. And we will. And now we can reset the bounty on... Shawnee even? No. We have enough Vigilantes... We do not have enough Vigilantes to guarantee that we destroy you from that alone. And it's slower than I want this to be to finish the job with the Executioner. Okay, there's the alumni. It has Zeal, which is possibly a game-winning difference for them, which was avoidable, which makes me really mad. So now they're going to destroy this, and that was pretty important, except we do have another Executioner. I'm going to use these to reset up Shawnee, which Shawnee's in the melee row, so they're going to use to get an alumni, basically. So Shawnee is still relevant, and is, in fact, probably the highest priority now, besides poking you for 1 damage. Now it's Vigilantes. Bare-Knuckle Brawler, unlikely to be a big factor. But now that we have a whole bunch of Vigilantes, or at least 2 Vigilantes, we can do this much more efficiently. We're actually gaining coins if we do that on any unit that has not already been boosted. And Bare-Knuckle Brawler, I mean, this is also a way to kind of weaken stuff like Heritage as a Student. Istred, yeah, I mean, we can't put the bounty on this turn. I think it actually does still benefit us to use Vigilantes. It lowers our coinage significantly. However, I am thinking we're going to use Kurt in the melee row to apply a bounty to someone and basically just get the automatic kill on someone. Who do they go after with you? If it's Caleb, it's a bit of an issue. Yeah, I mean, it was so blatantly obvious that they were trying to set up alumni, and we came so close to completely shutting them down that I'm really mad that what came down to was just us needing a half second on our turn. They are, however, still behind us, and we are 2 cards up on them at the moment, so maybe we will still be okay. But, yeah, so my plan was basically now... Oh, we could even create a 4th Vigilante if we wanted. Then that's 8 damage we can get automatically, and that becomes our source of damage whenever we use Kurt, and Kurt would be on... I mean, it could be you... Should probably still be Istrid, though. Or this Heritage Student, although we're... Yeah, actually, we do that. We do this. We do this. We do this. We do this. You get destroyed by the Vigilantes. We get you out. Don't need to use you for anything. Unless we want... there's a case to be made for Ignatius, but we'll pass on that. And they may not play here, because we have a reasonable sized lead and we have 1 extra card. Alright, it is Royal Decree, though. for Gerhardt, which is not a terrible option. Well, obviously, they're going to need to use him as a point slam. Can't use him for much else. Honestly, this might not even be enough. Oh, well, patience, or practice makes perfect, rather, is going to be worth a lot because they've done a lot of that stuff. Played a lot of mages. Probably just enough for them. We are getting boosted whenever they do this on the Seductress, but yeah, we will still need to play. Does mean we'll still have card advantage going into round 3, so it's not a terrible thing. But what do we prefer? Using our Oneiro or using our Brute? Either one would be pretty big for us. Oneiro in round 3 we would probably use to guarantee we get Ignatius or Witchfinder, although we would have built around her this round. We ultimately didn't really need her, but in a short round 3, she's not going to be a huge difference maker, other than just a relatively high base power. So I think it probably is going to be the Brute. I mean, basically, either one is going to be tremendous overkill. But we're just going to use this because we're going to get all of our coinage from you anyway. Not that it matters, so we're going to win in either circumstance. Don't need to spend those coins, but there you see the overgeneration. Alright, so that means we'll win round 2. Again, I didn't really want to have to defend the bleed because I wanted to have a nice long round 3 in which we could build around the Witchfinder, but they did not want to let us do that. So we'll win round 2. We'll have 1 card advantage. We have our leader back at 4 power, so we're looking pretty good here. Alright, well, we draw into Witchfinder, and then Moreelse is a 9 provision cost card. Okay, we do have our other Moreelse in our deck still, along with our other Igor, so it's not guaranteed that we get Ignatius from you. Let's dump Operator. Okay, Hysteria is not great. Is it Witchfinder first? We definitely don't want to play Moreelse first, but could we... And if we use Oneiro into Ignatius first, then we might end up getting the other Moreelse out from our deck, and that would also be unfortunate. So I think it kind of has to be Witchfinder first. So Alumni is their most dangerous card, you would think, because that is the most pace, most tempo, as would have Gerhardt, but they use that at the end of round 2 for that very reason. Selkirk, are they still the leader ability charge? Double Selkirk is not bad. They're going to have to use leader ability charge here. But that alone, I don't think will be sufficient, as we have the coinage to remove that Selkirk, or drop it down to 1 point if we really wanted to. Yeah. Let's at least get up to 6. Then we can Moreelse, or even, yeah, we should. We should probably just guarantee we're going to remove you on this turn. Deny them any potential to set up that Selkirk. We do get the big Ignatius out from our deck. You're going to put a bounty on that Selkirk, which is high enough that it's not really ideal, because Hysteria is going to be just out of removal range. Although leader ability, we could destroy it through that. Rune Wardle and, well, Shatter Wizards really, is just too little too late at this point. The shield is annoying, for sure. Don't really want to be playing a Siege Master out from your deck like that, though. So I think we're basically just... this may be a Rage Quit. And Rage Quit they did. And so, we will win. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here. And we'll go first. Alright, so we're looking for a consistent source of bounties in every round. So, one way to do that is by going with Caleb, which Freak Show and Caleb are only 8 provision cost cards, so it's not guaranteed, but there's a decent chance when we play Freak Show that we'll get a Caleb out here as well. Otherwise, we could use Oneiro to guarantee we get Caleb, or Witchfinder is the other one. We'd kind of like to save Witchfinder for round 3 if possible, along with Vigilantes, card that we'd love to create additional copies of with Igor. We could do some of that in round 1, but we'd like to save that for round 3 if possible. Let's stump you. And more Vigilantes is not a terrible thing, I suppose. Necromancy, I mean, you could keep it. You could keep it for round 1, but it's a little bit iffy because you don't know if anything's going to get destroyed, whereas Megascope is a way to create additional copies of the Vigilantes, but again, for the most part, something we'd like to save for round 3, and the Megascope is not as efficient as Igor will be in all likelihood. So I think to lead things off here, let's just double check. I think it's going to end up probably being a Vigilante in truth. Since we at least have 1 more in our hand, we can guarantee that we will get some for round 3. And all we technically need is 1 for us to be able to start creating additional copies with Igor. Granted, this is Nilfgaard. They're probably going to have control. We'll see. Alright, Thirsty Dame means statuses. What status? Is it a spying deck? Is it a lock deck? We will find out soon. We also hate Veil and don't like cards that get boosted, because that makes it much harder for us to catch them with our damage, coin spending to deal damage. So I think we're going Freak Show here. We would love to see Caleb. If we don't, it's going to be double Freak Show, which is not really ideal. And if that is to happen, then we're probably going to have to use our stratagem to get enough damage to destroy Thirsty Dame. Okay, we do get Caleb, though. That's huge. Because now we can do this. And with 2 Vigilantes on the board, that means that this is almost guaranteed to... Or almost don't even need Freak Show in this case, but this is what I mean. Now we can't even use our... tell you what, I'm going to do this. Can't use Caleb to put a bounty on you, but I am going to use Freak Show. Freak Show is one of the few cards we have that can deal damage to cards that have Veil. So, especially since that was an Assimilate engine, felt like it was probably worth going after it early. Granted, it was pretty expensive to do that, especially when it didn't have a bounty, so that means we're not going to get any coins in return. I want them to lock Freak Show. They did lock Freak Show, so that is incorrect threat assessment from them. They should have gone after Caleb, because we have other ways to deal damage. We do not, or at least we would rather not, have to use another source of bounty generation. Now, the highly boosted stuff is unfortunate, but that is technically what Moreelse is here for, is to destroy their most highly boosted cards, and you're both boosted, but you're an engine, you're not, so this is really the card we'd like to go after with that. Technically, we can do that whenever. It's not actually time-sensitive, because, yeah, you can get boosted, but eventually we're going to remove you anyway. So I think more than anything what we want to do here is probably the Witchhunter Executioner. So this is our other way to deal damage to cards that have bounties. And a little bit of coinage as well, which is certainly not bad. In fact, spend 3, we're going to get 4 back automatically. Which means, yeah, we'll gain coins from doing this. And we could just hit you with some bleed if we really wanted to. But I won't. What is this up to now? We're up to 8. Okay, Roderick. Are they also going to be spy spam trying to flood our side of the board, which is certainly annoying? I mean, it's certainly looking like that. But we have the stuff we really need here. We have a spender, and we have a bounty setter. Yeah, no, like this is getting a little egregious at this point. Like if you see them play what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 disloyal units in the same round, then usually that's a pretty good indication that that is their primary strategy, is to prevent you from playing stuff by flooding your side of the board. But again, as long as you have a bounty setter and you have someone who can deal damage to units that have bounty, then we should still be able to make this work. And actually the highest priority is going to end up being Roints here, because again, these guys will get boosted, yes, but as long as we can take you out at some point with Moreelse, then that's not a huge concern. But we want to take you out before you get the chance to use that order ability, because that is going to be huge. So we certainly have the coins. We're gonna have 4 damage automatically coming from the Vigilantes when we use this. I think we might even consider using, we should probably go Nero, because we've not used that yet, and we'd certainly want to get our echoed copies for a later round. Tell you what we'll do. We will go here. We're going to Nero into the other Nero. And then we're going to put a bounty on you once again. With probably... Where'd you go? Looking for Fabian. Okay, this is not a terrible thing per se, because it does mean more of you. So now we do want to make sure we have enough board space to play Moreelse to remove some of their highly boosted cards, although, yep, because they're... Alright, this... Like, at this point, it's pretty disrespectful. Like, this, I would say, is very uncompetitive and should not really be tolerated. There's a reason why I tried to convince, and eventually did, convince CDPR to fix the spy bug in this event, but now people are still abusing spies for other reasons, which makes me unhappy. Yeah, so we can only play one unit, which is a bit of an issue, because it's gonna brick the second card that we play here. So we can use Moreelse to destroy you. I think we probably still need to do that. And then we are gonna get another 9 provision cost card out from our deck, and we're just gonna have to accept the fact that that's gonna get destroyed. So we use the tribute to destroy you. And it is gonna be another Moreelse, which we would have liked, but obviously didn't have the ability to use that. So now I think we have enough damage that we can focus down you. And, ooh, we actually don't have coins left. That's unfortunate. So we could go leader ability to destroy you, yes. But I'm gonna wait. Arguably should have done it. It's actually a bad move. Actually did not want to purify that, because now I'm going to remove Thirsty Dame with leader ability. Then I'm going to use the excess coins that we generate from doing that to allow Caleb to put a bounty on you, which will immediately get destroyed because we have the Vigilantes on the board, and then we're just going to discard a Megascope. So, right, technically you could make a case for destroying Imperial Diviner as well. They're both engines. Which one are we more concerned about? We have 9 damage on this, so we should have enough coins either way. Let's do... Technically, you're higher base power than Brothan's is, so tell you what, we do this. It's actually better for us to put the bounty on you. We should still have enough Vigilantes to destroy you. So yeah, this is why having Caleb plus a spender on the board is all that we technically need, because even if we can't play units, we can still do this every turn. Now, are they going to catch us here? No. So that being said, I am very tempted to... Oh, that's what, yes, Thirsty Dame was going to end up doing, was get a whole bunch of boosts from them applying this bleed. Okay, so technically we are going to be in the lead at the end of this turn unless they use their leader ability, because they're getting desperate at this point, because they didn't expect us to still be able to play after they flooded our entire board. My point is that, yeah, also that doesn't work. Congratulations. That's also an amazing target for us to go after with bounty. Like, we will win this round because you did that. Thank you. So, I mean, we could pass now. We're going to take a little bit of damage from the bleed, yes, but we would still be in the lead even after doing that, so they'd have to go card down to win round 1, which is still not perfect, but we could deal with it. Whereas, we could otherwise spend basically 3 coins right now, just do it so we have enough left to put the bounty on, and then we can use leader ability if we have to take you out, and that's going to give us maximum coinage and also set up for a humongous brute later on. So I think we do that. So that's kind of too good to turn down. I think it might get us in trouble. Technically speaking, it might get us in trouble. Oh, also I forgot that we're going to get the automatic damage from the Vigilantes anyway. So yeah, that was not really a concern, leaving extra damage. We do need to discard, so I'm going to discard you. And then I'm just going to do this. Make sure that we have enough. I would have ideally spread that across on everyone, but now we are still in the lead. I think they'll probably play, and this was the risk, is that now they are more capable of catching us on this turn. And why we perhaps should have, ideally would have been even more aggressive with our executioners there. Yeah, and that's, again, like now we're probably gonna end up losing on even. So basically what it came down to was, are we okay with losing with them going a card down, which would have been the case if we had passed on our previous turn, or instead accepting that we will lose on even, but getting an 18-point deployability on this brute and our other brute in our deck as well. That's the direction we did end up choosing to go in. So we'll see. Is this worth an extra card, basically, to do that? Possibly. Possibly. Because at this point, we don't want to be discarding any of you guys. So let's leave it at this. And again, if we had a little more time on our previous turn to apply more bleed, then we actually still could have Still could have forced them to play one more card, which would have been ideal. Okay, so we draw into Caleb, and we still have a Freak Show, so that's good. We draw into both of our Oneiros. We can use one of these to get a Witchfinder, which is really nice. We're probably going to need to throw away here. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to try to push 2-0. We'd probably like for them to do that, to be honest. In which case, yeah, Freak Show, Caleb, going to be probably the key things here, and then Igor we'd like to use to get additional copies of Vigilante. So we actually did get a fair number in round 1, and they became pretty significant. Okay, so do they play or not? They don't. Okay, so that means we will have to be a card down in round 3. We're just looking for a throwaway here, which I think we might actually prefer. If we use Octavia Hale, then we might get Kurt out from our deck, who is a decent card for us to have in case they do try to lock us. I'm not entirely sure that's going to happen. Otherwise, Tax Collector gives us a little bit of profit. It's going to be 1 coin worth of additional carryover. Coin carryover in that case, which I guess we go for. Technically, in that way, it is the most efficient, but you do need to be a little bit careful of this. Okay, so we will have as many coins as you can carry over, but we did put some points on the other side of the board, so you need to be a little cautious of that. Alright, so we will be a card down in round 3. I think we can still make this work, though. Okay, so we draw into Operator, which at the moment can only create an additional Tax Collector. We'd love for this to be able to create Vigilantes. Now, do we have any that we could still draw into here to make that happen, or are we going to have to settle for Tax Collector, in which case we may not want to do that? We have 1 in deck. Let's mulligan you. Okay, there's Witchfinder. Okay, we don't need to near into Witchfinder anymore. I think we might just dump Operator. Okay, it's Red Haze, which I don't love, but what is this going to be for? Because now that gives us flexibility that I did not anticipate that we would have. It's going to be Necromancy to get a Vigilante, is what that's going to be. Yeah. In fact, that's probably our turn 1 play. It could be, I guess we'll go Tax Collector. Nah. We'll go Tax Collector, get early coin generation. Really wanted that to be a Vigilante, though, because we want to set that up as quickly as possible. The earlier we get all the Vigilantes set up, plus Witchfinder, the more effective that's going to be. So that's probably still something we would have prioritized over using all this. What's our Moreelse situation? Did we use Moreelse in round 1? We did, didn't we? We used one of them, and then the second one, our board was full, so we had to brick it. That stinks, because that's, exactly what we'd like to use to get rid of Glynis. And might not really be fast enough to destroy Glynis, and she's going to be at highly boosted, which is still not something we really want to see. But now we need to take action. In fact, no, we used our lead ability not that long ago, so it's not that effective right now. So now we go for... Where's Necromancy? There you are. Necromancy. That's why we only have 1 Vigilante left in our deck, so we have a whole bunch there. But there's another one, so that's great. So now we can go potentially straight into Witchfinder or Igor first. We don't want both. Technically, lock is okay. We need one of them to stay on the board so we can at least create extra copies of them. Now, it is going to flood our side of the board considerably. Is one downside with how they're going to obviously try to flood us with spies. That's what they did last time. So, need to be mindful of that. We, if anything, want to put our other stuff in the range row because we would like to go Caleb plus the Freak Show in the melee row. They are row locked there. Do this, we get the other Igor. We should put the other Igor in this row, though. Okay. And next we'll go Witchfinder. Because Witchfinder is technically enough with the Vigilantes to deal a whole bunch of damage. Yeah, like this is... At this point, this is pretty egregious. Do they get any value on Brute? No, they don't. Okay, that was going to be a valuable card, although we might not have... We would have liked to have finished with it. Not really sure we're going to have time to do that. If you see people doing this, like, this is unacceptable. This is... Yes, to a certain extent, this level of bad faith Gwent playing is something that you just now, at this point, need to accept as a reality in this event specifically, but this is why people are not playing Gwent anymore, because people insist on doing things like this. Guys, don't do this. You are killing Gwent if you do this. It is that simple. Okay, but now it's Witchfinder. And you need to be kind of careful with Witchfinder, because these crowns also take up room, and if you are loaded up on all of your coins, then you actually cannot click on these, so you will permanently lose board space in that case. But now, and this is what I was referring to before, these Glini are going to be the ones that receive the bounty because they are so highly boosted. But bounty, we probably don't have enough damage to destroy the stuff that has the most on it right now, and that's the issue with Witchfinder, is that she does very much need for you to, like, this is egregious. Like, this is stop playing Gwent level of disrespect. What did they just get there? What was that? I don't even know what that was. Okay. But now, like, they're gonna leave this here as well. Like, this is what's wrong with Gwent, if anyone was wondering. Case in point. Okay. So, we would like to go Caleb plus Freak Show, which we should have just enough space to do. Just enough space to do. Which is critically important here, because that is one way that we can continue to set bounties, which Witchfinder cannot do if there's already a unit that has a bounty on the board. So, let's... Let's do this. Which is not going to be enough yet. However, on our next turn, we may be able to use Red Haze to change that. Or if we have room, go for a Brute for 9 profit. And we're also getting a tiny bit of profit from Tax Collector as well, which might actually be a big difference maker. That's unfortunate. We can reset the bounty, though, and get all the damage once again from the Vigilantes. Which is 1, 2... 2 Vigilantes? Only 2 Vigilantes? Alright. Guys. This needs to stop. This is why Gwent is dying. Nobody wants to play this. Nobody wants to play this game if you're gonna do this. It is that simple. Alright, but we can and should use Brute, and in fact, we're not even gonna have another 13 provision cost card because they stole this Brute with a Cantarella. So this, I think, is the most valuable board space we can, or the most valuable way to use our board space right now. We should technically use what coinage we have at the moment. That did get locked, though, which does stink. Would hit you. Which is, I guess, fine. So you're still providing some value, I suppose. So it's this. And now we can reset bounties, which I think we might deliberately do on other cards. Yeah, let's deliberately just put the bounties on other cards. And, ooh, yeah, so we can reapply the bounty on our next turn with Caleb, or use Blood Money to destroy Roints. And then we can finish our turn with no one on a bounty. Okay, you can purify it, it's fine, either way. Even if he already has the bounty, I think it still works. Now, if you're only able to play disloyal cards, then obviously we're going to win. And we may try to keep one of these Glynises highly boosted to get more value out of Red Haze. Okay, so now we can go... Right, technically, you're the most valuable card that they have, because you're pretty much... I mean, these engines would be the most valuable if we could destroy them, but that's easier said than done. So now we just go and use Caleb to destroy you, and I think we might brick Ignatius and save Red Haze. So we do this. We'll get the automatic kill from the Vigilantes, which will help sustain our coinage. We brick you. Witchfinder will activate at the end of our turn, which will once again give us a little bit of damage. Then we move the bounty again with Caleb. It's going to be reasonably effective, but you put that in the wrong place because I am going to destroy you. That is probably going to be the card that we target with this Red Haze, because you are an engine. Or at least if they somehow still find a way to put more spy statuses on us, then you would be an engine. We could destroy Usurper General, which technically, yeah, does give the... I mean, I guess you could make a case of going after him, since they have last say, they can wait and get this back on their last turn, and they don't want to do that now, obviously, because our board is flooded, but I think you do this, then, in that case. And now this is overkill, but so be it. Then we can just spend like crazy. So this is our last turn, and use this on you in case you're gonna get extra boosts from somewhere. So we have a slight lead here, 10-point lead. They can't play a disloyal card. What is their last play, though? There you go. There you have it. Guys, stop doing this. It's ridiculous. You won't even win. Alright, so going up against monsters here. And they'll go first. Alright, so we want to have one consistent bounty setter at least per round. However, Witchfinder is guaranteed to get the other Witchfinder out from her deck because she's our only 12 provision cost unit. So although she is one of those cards we'd like to see, don't need two of her. And then Brute is our only 13 provision cost card, which means we should dump you. And that means we did not have much time to optimize our other stuff here. And I do not particularly love our hand. And by that I mean our hand is atrocious, to put it mildly. Unless we use all these Vigilantes plus Witchfinder in round 1, which is really something that I wanted to save for round 3. And even then, ideally it would be with Igor creating additional copies of the Vigilantes rather than playing them directly from her hand like this. Is still possible we could get the Vigilantes back with Necromancy, so we might need to accept that as our best way forward in round 1, unless we just keep this round really short and pass early and don't invest much of anything of any importance in this round. Alright, they're going to go Necrorat first, which is, of course, Solid Engine. And they, based on the whole Blood Scent thing, was, of course, expected them to be a Vampire's deck. And, you know, they do have low base power. So at least these Necrorats would certainly be fairly easy to destroy with Vigilantes plus Witchfinder. Let's start with the Vigilantes, and we will gauge how aggressively we want to play in this round. So I'm still not convinced we want to do so. Alright, Garcane, unfortunately, is an engine that will get boosted, which does make it a little bit harder to take it out with our bounty plus damage. Because one boost is one extra coin we'll have to spend, generally speaking, but does not mean one extra coin returned from destroying that unit when we put a bounty on it. Good thing is Vigilantes do not cost any coins, but we still don't have a great way to multiply them, and we need more of them. So we need to play them directly from hand, if we were to go this route, which is still relatively slow, especially because with all them in our hand, it's unlikely that we'll get another one out from our deck. There is one more in our deck, but that's it. So, try it. Now we do have a spender, which technically is new, and does allow us to weaken these guys a little bit, to get them into Vigilante range. Yeah, on our next turn. It may just barely be possible to do what we're trying to set up here. Alright, Orient, that's gonna get huge. That is, without a doubt, going to become the biggest card. Which may be the confirmation we needed to say this is just not the round for us right now. I mean, we could Scapegoat, get some coins from it. Technically, it will power up our leader ability a little bit because it will get destroyed immediately from Vigilantes. And then we just see what else we happen to get as the other 4 provision cost card. We, at that point, actually prefer that it not be Vigilantes because we'd like to save the 2 Vigilantes that we have left, this one in our hand and one more in our deck. Though, again, we do have Necromancy, so we can bring some out in the future through that. So we technically can do that. Do this, you'll get immediately destroyed. Well, truly cursed. Okay, so at this point, I mean, they maybe see they have a pretty large advantage here and are not feeling all that inclined to push further. So they're using what is, by most accounts, some throwaway units. Surprised they didn't go after the tax collector there. Then again, we are on maximum coinage, so maybe they didn't for that reason. But either way, at this point, I mean, if we had the third Vigilante still, maybe you could make the case for still using Witchfinder, but we would want to destroy the biggest unit as soon as we put the bounty on it with the Vigilante damage, which is not possible. We wouldn't have enough to destroy Oriana. So, no thank you. No thank you. That was a doomed round one from the start, just about. Okay, and so now that we have played all but one of our Vigilantes from our starting deck, we are going to rely on Necromancy to get some of them back, yes, but more so Igor to create extra copies of them. So that is crucial. Could even make the case for relying a little bit on a Megascope for that same reason, although it is generally slower and less efficient than Igor, but, you know, you might even, on this occasion, feel as though that would be a not bad option. Whereas, I mean, they did play one more card than us. Caleb and Freak Show are usually the Witchfinder alternatives, so this would be the other thing that we would typically want to have in round one. If they do try to push in round two, then that's what we'd like to go for. If they are just going to use a throwaway or two here, then we'll probably go Witch Hunter Executioner, which we could build around to a certain extent, if necessary. Okay, it's Bruxa. Nothing for it to apply bleed to. It does have some long-term potential to grow, because it does have Thrive. Same could be said, of course, for this Garcane, but they are not that strong, at least not initially. And combination of Caleb and Freak Show, I have to imagine, gives us enough firepower to at least destroy one of you, right? Enough coins to make that happen? With the bounty included? I think so. So let's do, technically, this is, if you're being really nitpicky, it's best to have either both Calebs or both Freak Shows in your hand, not this one of each. Because now, if we play Caleb, we don't know if we're going to get another Caleb or if we're going to get a Freak Show. Similar for Freak Show here. We would prefer, if anything, to have just Freak Shows, I suppose. So we'll do this. We're hoping for Caleb, though. Okay, nice. So we do this, and I think we target the Garcane, because that has not been boosted yet, so it's a little bit more efficient to go after you here. And we could destroy the Bruxa as well. And honestly, I think I will, even though we don't have a bounty on it right now. Because just want to get rid of their engines, and we might play Witch Hunter Executioner on our next turn, which gives us a little more coins, which means we could play another bounty with Caleb, although then we wouldn't have much damage to destroy it. We could opt to use Leader ability as well. Wispus Tribute, I'm not sure what they're going for here. Something to remove. Oh, not immediately remove, but Crimson Curse is very powerful, of course. They're going to do it to both rows, or they have something else they're going for at the second. With this one, it is also Crimson Curse. Presumably they're going both rows, not 10 turns of it in one row, although we, of course, are required to play Freak Show and Caleb in the melee row, so there's not a lot we can do to avoid. I mean, it's unavoidable now, of course, regardless of which row. But, okay. So lots of little cards, which is a little bit tough with Caleb specifically because he does have a cooldown. But as I said, we do need a little more coinage going on here. So Vigilantes is a way to make Caleb a little more efficient, although after having to use so many of them in round one, it's not great. I don't love that prospect, but we could Necromancy to get one back, and then we'd get a random 4 provision cost card, which we don't have that many of in our deck anymore, because again, we used so many in the previous round. In fact, it might just be Scapegoat and nothing else. So that would give us a lot of coins, though. So tell you what, we'll do that. We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do this. Oh, we did still have a tax collector. Okay, I spent those coins assuming we were about to get a Vigilantes plus Scapegoat and immediately get ourselves back up to 9 coins, which was not actually the case. Okay, Alp, we will target with Leader ability, and that'll give us excess coin generation, because this is overkill, which means we will have enough coins for Caleb to put a bounty on something, which, depending on what we choose to do here, is it going to be another Caleb plus Freak Show? It might be. Otherwise, you know, if you do play this Vigilantes here and rely on this Necromancy to give us one in a later round, then that would mean that we'd have enough damage to immediately destroy you just from Caleb alone and wouldn't even need Freak Show, which is a little intriguing. Let's go for that. You're gonna immediately get destroyed, which puts us at maximum coins. We do this. Immediately destroy you. And that means we can do this. Still have enough coins, assuming that Caleb survives, which he should. And we can get out Caleb / Freak Show number 2 on our next turn if necessary, which is going to be necessary because they're still in the lead here. Alright, Unseen Elder is obviously a huge card, one that we absolutely would like to target with some form of bounty / damage. But I imagine... Do they have Devotion? I don't remember if we've seen anything that is a neutral. So if they do, yeah, then we're going to lose those guys. Okay, so... And this is just the game conspiring in every possible way to mess with us. After round 1 did not go terribly well, now they're pushing really aggressively with some strong stuff. But we very much would have liked to have held on to Caleb and Freak Show to take these guys out immediately. But they had enough damage to do that to us instead. Now, Blood Money can destroy one of them. We would get enough extra coinage that we'd be max coins at that point. So I think we actually go probably into this first, which will also over-profit. But let's do this. And then that. And then that. At least get rid of the powerful Unseen Elder engines. Okay, Flutter will also get very big. Need to take that out quickly. Otherwise, it'll become too big for us to reasonably deal with it here. Okay. So if we have any intention of building around Vigilantes, then this is our last turn to do it, because this is about to get destroyed. And yes, we could use Necromancy, but we really wanted to save that for round 3. Granted, at this point, they're pushing really aggressively, and they may just try to drop... I mean, obviously, their finisher is Regis. Just a matter of, are they going to play that at the end of round 2 and go all the way for the 2-0, or are they going to try to make this a really long round 2 and just have Regis be their point slam for round 3 and assume that we can't catch them? So, Igor... I mean, we aren't guaranteed to get the other Igor out from our deck, because we do have other 9 provision cost cards, so maybe that's reason enough to go this route here. Moreelse was going to be extremely important, though. So I'm not happy to see that here. I'm just going to hit you. I'm going to put that on. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to do this. Technically, doing that in the other order would have been more efficient, but that's why we had to use... If we had any intention of using Igor in this round, then we had to do it on this turn because we were going to lose that other Vigilantes and would have had to rely on Necromancy had we not done it just then. So Freak Show may be about to get destroyed, but if it does, then Executioner serves functionally the same purpose. Freak Show is more flexible in that it can still go after stuff that does not have a bounty on it, which, because Caleb has a cooldown, is kind of nice, but hey, Blood Moon is gone, so that's something. You should be getting pretty effective pretty soon. We can get a bounty from Octavia Hale, giving us either a Kurt, as the other 6 provision cost card, or just using that to give ourselves Fabian Hale in our hand. I think we will probably go this route, though. It's also getting some boost from the Seductress is not a terrible thing either. So now you must go. And we might... don't have a great way to make that happen. I think I am still going to do this. And we're going to rely on you for profit on our next turn in all likelihood. Or see if Octavia Hale gives us immediate access to some bounty. Okay, I was going to say, that's an odd row to put the Blood Moon on, but if you're going double Detloff, then of course you can put it here as well, and that's a much more important row to do it with. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is annoying that they're pushing so aggressively for the 2-0. Because we are deliberately saving Witchfinder, which at this point we would get very limited value from her if we were to play her in round 3, so we honestly may just need to break her out right here, right now. We have 2 Vigilantes, which means we get 4 damage on the highest unit, which is this Flutter. Would get the coins to reapply a bounty here. Yeah, I think we have to. I do think we have to. Don't really think there's much of an alternative anymore. And either way, we're gonna... Not quite enough room for the coins. So, do we even want to do this yet? I'm not sure that we do. Tell you the truth. Okay, so that's still gonna get the bounty from Witchfinder. We actually... Yeah, now we need to create one more copy of Vigilantes / get slightly more damage on you. Because then Witchfinder can start ripping through their entire board, but it's a little late for that to happen. It's a little late for that to happen. Boost on Seductress is certainly useful, though. So yeah, now the problem is we're looking at, like, Necromancy was to get more Vigilantes, which we could still do. And now we lose Caleb, but we brought in the Witchfinder, so it's not as much of a loss. You are our primary spender at the moment, though, so that would be a loss for sure. Brute, remember, is our only 13 provision cost card, so using this, we will be guaranteed to get the other one out. I think we go here. Brute. Other Brute. Now, we need to destroy you. Which gives us the coins to create an extra Vigilante. Which now means we have 6 damage at the end of our turn, which is enough to destroy the highest 6 power, the highest unit, which is 6 power. We hope that it's both Detlof's, not Witch Apprentice. In fact, I will poke you with our leader ability to make sure that it isn't you. Because now Witchfinder is fully set up, which means we can do this every turn. So that's what we were trying to save for round 3. We delayed until we basically had no choice but to do it here in round 2, and now they are risking losing what was going to be their last say. They are going to use their big card, their big finisher, which is Regis. Is that even enough for them, though? So if there is any question before, it is absolutely the case now that they are 100% in this round. So this... See, do they have anything with the bounty at the moment? No, it would be Witchfinder going on to Regis, either one of them, which at 15 power means we'd have to have... No, we need 8 of you. That's not possible for us to do that right now. So I think it's going to have to be Octavia Hale. We're probably looking for... Let's create another. You have a cooldown, so we can't do another one of those. It's going to be Octavia Hale. We're hoping... Yeah, we probably get... both are decent. This looks like it's worth more. I think Fabian Hale is actually worth more because of all of the Vigilantes that we have. Did not want you. Did not want you. Okay, then we don't have the proper bounty set up for you, but the damage from the Vigilantes is enough here. When we get the bounty on them, we may still be okay, but we need to see how... Oh, I swear to God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course we're gonna tie if we don't do anything. So we did need to do precisely one thing on our previous turn in order to give ourselves last say in round 3. I hate that. I hate that with a burning passion. But alas, we are now forced to play Fabian. All right. I hate it. I do hate it. But technically, we are gonna get a ridiculous amount of coins here. We're going to overgenerate by a ridiculous amount, but... Alright, so they've lost their finisher. But we should, by all accounts, we really should be 1 card up in round 3 after punishing them for their failed round 2 bleed attempt. For what it's worth, we have a very big finisher with Ignatius. Is he our only 9 provision cost card left? No, we still have a Moreelse. And we have another Ignatius. Okay, so we actually don't even know if we're going to get the other Ignatius out when we use this. Definitely get rid of you. Oneiro, we can use to get the other one. So... I think that's fine. I think we should still have this. Round 2 is round 1 and round 2 were very frustrating, don't get me wrong, but I think we can still make this work. Kind of wanted to get a Sly Seductress, because that would have been a decent point scoring engine, even if it's not a lot of time to get that powered up. But speaking of not a lot of time, they won't have much opportunity to benefit from their bleed. So Cave Troll honestly might be one of their best cards because it's just a 7-point slam. And our coins are basically, no, we could have some use for them. Because we're going to end up getting a Moreelse out at some point. And that's going to be more efficient than the very slow and painful bleed from Witch Hunter Executioner. So we're just not going to have enough time to benefit fully from that. So yeah, let's go here. And we'll go Moreelse. And we're just gonna... We will pay the tribute. And, oh, we also had Igor. I forgot about that. which is not really meaningful to create extra Witchhunter Executioners at this stage. If it was going to be another Moreelse, obviously we wouldn't have paid the tribute at that point. We'd just take the damage, which doesn't do much because you have the armor. But I'm hoping that this gives us the other Ignatius and not a Moreelse, because obviously the other Ignatius would be much more effective. If I had realized that we had still Igor left in our deck as well, there was also 9 provisions, then I probably would have, rather than going for Moreelse, gone for Ignatius. Not a terrible play. Are they on? They are not yet on Sabbath. Okay. So, also Blood Money is going to be pretty hard to get much of any value out of that. So, we will, obviously we're going to use Ignatius here. And okay, we do get the other Ignatius, that's great. So this is almost the same value as what their finisher was. Their Regis. We just applied the bleed, and as I said, we weren't going to have enough time to benefit from all that bleed anyway. And then, similarly with leader ability, but there you go. So, we don't really benefit from using Igor, certainly not when he has Insanity. But we should have this one locked down here. Don't really see any way in which they can pass us on this turn. So, certainly could have been a little bit better. Definitely our round 1 hand was terrible. Round 2, we should have pulled off a more successful bleed defense, but still managed to win in round 3. Alright, so going up against Northern Realms here. And we'll go first. Okay, so we have both Witchfinders in our hand. We do not want that because she is our only 12 provision cost card, so we were already guaranteed to get the second one. So let's dump one of you. Then Freak Show, the other 8 provision cost card is Caleb, and we'd kind of like to have Witchfinder in one round, Caleb in the other round to give us consistent source of bounty generation, so like to get Caleb there, but not guaranteed per se. Igor can give us extra copies of Vigilantes, which is potentially amazing for us. Moreelse, we have a bunch of 9 provision cost cards, so that's actually okay if we have a couple of you. Scapegoat, let's dump you and see if we can do better. I think we still potentially can. Okay. Now we have a lot of Vigilantes. Now, I'm not necessarily sure we want to go for our full-blown Vigilante plus Igor setup in this round. We'd probably prefer to do that in round 3 instead. So I think, why don't we instead start with either coin generation from Tax Collector or point generation from the Seductress. Let's go... I guess we'll go Tax Collector first. See what we get. And the second one. Second 4 provision card is the Bare-Knuckle Brawler, potential spender. Which, I mean, we were otherwise going to rely on Freak Show. It was very obvious immediately that this is going to be a Reavers deck, because they are Inspired Zeal. Alright, now how aggressively they're using leader ability charges. They're using 2 in round 1. Wow. That is a bit surprising. But let's see. So, in this case, does that change what order we want to go in here? I mean, it would potentially be Seductress next to give us a point scoring engine, and then we start doing bounty stuff, but that may not be the case anymore. We may want to start removing some of these Reavers. Armor and the boost, though, are pretty nasty for us, because that makes, in general, dealing damage to units less efficient when we're trying to sustain our bounties, which means Vigilantes is more important than it would otherwise be, so I think we do, at the very least, try to go that route first. And this should immediately get destroyed, maxing out our coins. Technically, we had a coin to burn in that case, but we no way of knowing that in advance. Now, these are going to hit us really hard on this turn, so that is a little scary. Especially if they create more, which I'm certainly... Whoa. Would not have ruled out that they were about to do that. I mean, Erland in oh, no, they have the normal amount of cards in their deck for double down. I mean, Erland in general, yes, amazing in this event, because there's more cards for him to boost. Usually, you'd... I mean, I guess you could play him in round 1 and maybe not even click on that order ability. But now we, I think, do want to start setting up Freak Show and hopefully get a Caleb out of here as well. Otherwise, the bounties are going to be a little bit hard to come by. There's a chance we get double Freak Show. Okay, no, it is Caleb. That's good. So, technically we should have spent first because we were going to get some profit from actually both these guys. Yikes. Okay. Little bit of over profits in that case. Let's, And these guys have the armor and the boost, which again means they're a little less efficient to go after. So, I think we'll actually do this. At least initially. Alright, for reinforcements now, they're breaking out more Reavers. So this one we'll go after. Assuming they don't use leader ability charge in it, that'll be the most effective one for us to target. Yeah, I think the Erland was really just to make it a little harder for us to remove these Reavers. We don't have a lot of points we're putting up on our side of the board, so that does make it kind of tricky to avoid taking a bunch of damage from the Reavers and potentially getting units destroyed, so we may want to keep this round very short. Otherwise, Seductress is really the thing we have that gets boosted and potentially can circumvent or at least minimize the effectiveness of Reavers destroying our units. So I think now we do probably go after you. Deliberately going to do this first because there's a chance of us getting coins when we do this. Okay, no we won't, but that's fine. Double Seductress is certainly not bad. So now, I think we get especially aggressive here. We'd like to prevent them from creating more Reavers with you. At least limit the damage to a certain extent. And case can certainly be made for using Tiger's Eye, possibly even leader ability to destroy some of these and, you know, get coins for Freak Show to just go crazy. That may very well be what we choose to do on our next turn. I think I'm going to use leader ability on these guys. If not, then that's a very obvious target for us to go after next. They are. Okay, so they've used all their leader ability charges, which I would argue is a pretty big deal. I very much imagine they are going to have a Radovid that they will use later on, but at least as of right now, that does hinder them considerably. So we could even break out our other Vigilantes here and just rely on the Necromancy to bring the Vigilantes back out in a later round and use Igor to create a whole bunch of copies of them. That might be our best play here. I think it probably is, to be honest with you. So let's go this route. And we'll get... Okay, you're pretty much entirely redundant, but so be it. So now we do want to use Tiger's Eye. And Caleb is now very efficient. So... It's what? It's 4 damage, so this is an immediate kill. I guess we do this. Let's do... This is going to be serious over profit. And then just hit you once, because we're going to generate profit, or twice, that's fine. Because we're going to generate profit from the task collector. We don't really want this round to go that much longer at this point. Now, they always have the option of clicking on that Erland ability and getting a bunch from it. That's not a lot of damage there. So now that we've reduced the number of Reavers on the board, there is a decent case to be made for targeting Erland next, because this is really their get-out-of-jail-free card, because we have otherwise made matters relatively difficult for them. We are in range for Moreelse if we really wanted to, although at this point, not really sure there's anything that's highly boosted enough to warrant getting aggressive with that, and we could just go for the base damage, make it easier for Freak Show and Caleb to take other people out. So I think we probably do that. No tribute, and we'll go after... You've already done your thing, so let's target... I don't love the armor, but I guess we'll go after you. Now, you have not been fully set up just yet, but that should change relatively soon. As I said, case could have still been made for targeting Erland there, prioritizing him, because if they do that, then that's going to be pretty bad news for us. And we kind of don't want to play Moreelse at this point, because we'd like to save one of them for the later rounds in case they do have something that gets highly boosted, like in Erland. I mean, otherwise, I guess we could go Moreelse. We don't have the coins anymore for the tribute ability, but we just poke you, and then we remove you by putting a bounty on you and the damage from the Vigilantes when we do that, and then we just clean up with Freak Show, whatever other damage we can manage, I guess. I mean, Moreelse is valuable, so I am a little hesitant to do this, but we'll go for it. Technically, that is going to be over damage as well, once we do... oh, we actually... Come to think of it, don't even have the coins for Caleb right now. Not unless we do this. Oh no, we needed a bounty on that to increase the number anyway. Alright, so be it. Now we can, but at this point we'd very much like to pass. So we've shut down the Reavers. This guy isn't really doing anything because they need the bonded ability. And they don't have the option to click Erland for an immediate source of bazillion boosts. So, and now they're starting to shut down our combo anyway. But we still have the Seductresses, which, now that they don't have the damage from the Reavers anymore, is going to make it pretty hard for them to catch us. So I think we probably do pass here. And that means we still have the setup with Necromancy to get back at least one Vigilante in round 3. Use that with Igor to create a bunch of copies of it, and then combine that with Witchfinder for ridiculous damage. So that's the win condition that we're planning around. But how long does it take them to catch us here? If they do try to push further, can they pull it off? Or will our roughly 30-point lead plus the power from these Seductresses when they try to play stuff make matters more difficult for them than they expect here? Because they're trying to target the Seductress, which makes sense. But they are going to get boosted here. They will have the damage to destroy this one on this turn, right? Perhaps not. How much is this 2 or... Oh, okay. Across all the other stuff. Yes, but now they're kind of stuck. Because, sure, they got rid of one of the Seductresses, but we're still looking at a pretty large lead here. And they've already played one more card than we have in this round, so they're looking at permanent card disadvantage here. We're getting a better sense of... We saw some siege engine synergistic stuff before, but now we see why that was there. Yes, they do have a reasonable number of siege engines. Oh, but they're 1 point shy here, and they realize there's no way they can stop us at this point, and so they forfeit. Alright, going up against Nilfgaard here, and we'll go first. Okay, and we're looking for consistent sources of bounty, and we don't really have one outside of Oneiromancy into either Witchfinder or Caleb. So let's try dumping a Megascope. Igor is not really what we're looking for in round 1 at least. We can use him to create additional Vigilantes, but we don't even have any in our hand right now. And this is pretty terrible round 1 hand outside of this Oneiro, which we're going to have to lean very heavily on to give us one of those bounty setters. So at least to lead things off here, as we obviously don't have anything to put a bounty on just yet, why don't we start with the Sly Seductress? So that can be a point scoring engine for us, especially if we have the bonded ability active, because now she'll get boosted even if our opponent is playing special cards as well. Avalok. Oh, okay, they are a cultist deck, and here come the cultists. And so, yeah, I mean, the Seductresses will also get boosted from playing scenarios, so makes it a little bit tougher for them to use this on one of our bronze units, although it is kind of unfortunate they have a bronze unit to target nonetheless. So we'd kind of like for this round to end so quickly that they can't even trigger both of these chapters of their scenario, but the fact that they played this turn 1 means that's pretty much unavoidable. So we're probably just going to have to deal with this as is, and this potentially gives them a whole lot of carryover, in which case we're going to need to win round 1 in all likelihood. So let's go Oneiro into the other Oneiro, so we get both echoed copies in the next round. Really need to find that Oneiro, thank you, because I now want to go Freak Show and Caleb, but more importantly, Freak Show. It's not going to be fast enough. Or it will be. That was who I wanted, so that works. Okay, Master Ceremonies will activate the next chapter. Fortunately, they did not have anything to target with their original cultist, though, but this guy's going to get absolutely ginormous. Which is an issue because outside of Moreelse, we don't have a great way to answer that. And even you are a cultist as well, so you're going to get a ton of boosts too. You guys, not so much. Moreelse is our best answer for whenever they have something that is super highly boosted. But tell you what we can do. We could Purify with Kurt. That's really valuable, actually, and I'm not sure if we want to use that now in this round or in a later round. Let's do it. Maybe they saw that coming? They did not like the purification, and so they forfeit. So there's a look at a Syndicate bounty deck for the new Double Down seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions we should experiment with next. And take a look at our Double Down playlist to see previous decks that we've used in this event as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.